First, we need to understand why there aren't women on submarines, specifically Russian submarines. Back in 2017, the Chief of Combat Training of the Navy, Rear Admiral Viktor Kokmazov, explained the reasons for this inequality on a federal radio station. He stated, "There are many specialties in the armed forces where women can excel rather than in the whole of a submarine." He added firmly, "Women do not serve and will not serve on submarines of the Russian Navy. Women are not allowed to serve on submarines of the Russian Navy in the foreseeable future." Meanwhile, the American company Electric Boat has been working on modifying Virginia-class submarines to accommodate female sailors. By the way, the USA isn't the only country where you can find female submariners. For example, in 2017, the Italian women's magazine Io Donna published a report on the first women allowed to serve on National Navy submarines. At that time, the female cadets were only 3, to return from their first practical voyage, which they undertook on the Italian Navy's non-nuclear submarine Salvatore Todaro of Project 212A. The training voyage lasted 60 days. Thus, Italy became another country that allowed women to serve on submarines. Norway set the first example for everyone. They actually went even further. A resident of this country, Kray Solveig, went from being a warrant officer and navigator, and eventually, in 1995, became the world's first female submarine commander. Solveig commanded the boat for 9 years and retired in 2004 with the rank of Captain 3rd rank. Programs for training female submariners are also underway in countries such as Australia, Canada, Denmark. They're everywhere. I should note that in 2010, the US Navy lifted the ban on women serving on submarines. The first women were allowed to serve on submarines. Following that decision, officer positions opened to women, a significant step. Currently, 80 female officers and 50 enlisted women serve on American submarines. The Navy expects that number to exceed 100 soon, showing a commitment to gender diversity. The subs were originally designed for male crew. Some features like bypass valves are calibrated for male strength, potentially difficult for women. Showers and living quarters were also designed with only men in mind. Electric Boat is increasing showers, providing separate heads and sleeping areas, and upgrading other features for a more inclusive environment. Controls located high up are being moved lower for easier access. Ladders are being installed for the triple bunks, making it safer for women to reach the upper bunks. And to further enhance accessibility, all information signs and displays have also been strategically placed lower. The USS New Jersey, boasting its innovative new layout, officially rejoined the American fleet in November of 2021. Now let's shift our focus. Dedicated men managed to endure such difficulties. Let's take a look at the US Navy. Let's delve into the details of their daily life. First and foremost, the selection process is paramount. The crew of a submarine embarking on an extended voyage is meticulously and carefully selected. Candidates are required to undergo regular and thorough medical checkups to confirm they don't have any underlying diseases or health issues. Furthermore, experienced specialists work closely with them to assemble the team, paying close attention to psychological compatibility. So, individuals who are known slackers, those who regularly shirk their responsibilities, as well as conflict-prone individuals, simply don't make the cut. There's absolutely no tolerance for hazing on a submarine because every crew member understands that their safety and the safety of the sub as a whole can depend on their fellow crewmates. Second, personal time. If the leisure of Soviet-era submariners consisted of watching films on film projectors, and they often passed the time playing board games or reading books, modern submariners have a variety of modern gadgets at their disposal. If they're not familiar with the subject matter, they can simply take a look at the subject matter and make a decision. Another form of entertainment for sailors, which has become a tradition, is the initiation of salt water, which is collected in a lampshade. The newbie's task is to drink it and not wince. Often, tests are also used that require the newbie to show ingenuity. For example, a sledgehammer is suspended from the ceiling, which begins to swing from sea vibrations, and the recruit is asked to kiss it, and only an astute newbie will do this at the end of its swing, keeping their teeth intact. Let's talk about a submariner's daily routine. This is where things get interesting. As many know, there's no room for love on a Russian submarine unless you're talking about love for the motherland. Women are basically banned because having them on board can totally mess up the crew's dynamic. Time on a submarine is different from on land. While people on land measure it in days, submariners measure it in shifts. Out of 24 hours, a submariner only has 8 hours to themselves for meals, free time, and sleep. The other 16 are spent on duty, doing 2 4-hour shifts every day, plus another 8 hours for the submarine maintenance itself, the scheduled maintenance, repairs, and so on. Sleep is limited to about 2 or 3 hours, which forces the body to adapt, activating its defense mechanisms and hidden reserves. Constant sleep deprivation is a primary concern for submariners. The fourth point is the daily difficulties faced by submariners. All spaces on a submarine are rationally allocated. There's nothing extra or missing, but free space is limited, so you're constantly ducking and being careful. Also, any sailor can lose track of day and night, which isn't surprising since there's no daylight. This is solved with lighting simulating day and night. This manipulation helps prevent prevent depression in crew members, and it positively affects their psychological well-being. It's crucial to maintain a positive mindset in such an isolated environment. Another factor that helps submariners stay sane is the constant noise that permeates every corner of the submarine. Now, on one hand, this constant hum and whir can disrupt sleep patterns, making it difficult to get proper rest. But on the other hand, it saves the crew from the oppressive silence that would otherwise fill the vessel. Many of you might be thinking, screw sleep. I can always find a few minutes for myself to dream about women. But I'm here to disappoint you, unfortunately. It's a confined space with a large crew on duty around the clock. Officers live 4 to a cabin, while warrant officers and sailors live 6 to 8 in even tighter quarters. Everyone's busy with their assigned tasks, and they can't all sleep at once due to the constant operational needs. Someone's reading technical manuals, someone's working on a laptop, running a diagnostics or simulations. If they're lucky, they might get an hour or two of shut-eye between shifts. Plus, cabins are never locked at sea, which further hinders any private dreams about unattainable. In an emergency, the crew will prioritize saving the submarine. And frankly, your personal hiding spot isn't their main concern. If you can't open the cabin door from the inside in a panic, well, that's your problem, unfortunately. Plus, the watch officer constantly checks the cabin, waking up the next shift or calling a sailor for duty. They won't knock, as that could wake the others. And disturbing the crew, they can't do anything about it. The crew's rest is a serious offense. Then there is the head, or toilet, which on submarines is called the galley. But even here, no luck. There are only 8 galleys on a submarine for an average of 180 sailors, so it's used strictly for its intended purpose with minimal time spent. One is for the commander, naturally, and another is in the infirmary for the sick and doctors. 2 are in the aft compartments, which are too far to bother with unless you're stationed there. That leaves only 4 galleys for the rest of the crew. And let's be honest, one is always out of order or being flushed. So lingering there is, forget about finding a quiet place to relax or even yourself in peace, believe me. The head door will be constantly rattled by other crew members, all eager to get into that tiny secret room. And here's something interesting, a little tidbit I can't help but share. There's a persistent rumor that they add bromide to submariners' food, supposedly to kill their sex drive. Hard to say if it's actually true, and I can't confirm it, but it's safe to say a submariner's mind is generally occupied with other, more pressing things. The workday is incredibly intense, the food is often bland and repetitive, space is severely limited, and there's constant sleep deprivation leading to significant stress. Who honestly has time for women in that environment? They'd much rather grab an extra hour or two of precious sleep. Plus, you're always surrounded by the same crewmates. And let's be honest, you don't always get along perfectly with everyone. But despite all that, there are almost no conflicts on submarines. You have to fight because everyone's life and the submarine's performance depend directly on each and every crew member working together seamlessly of the submarine as a whole.